I heard the term colonizers, but who are the real colonizers?
Classy here at Shannon River Lights. One of the fishermen put them up there, Robert, fair play to him. Says free not work on that flag there. And of course, Christianity. This is a Christian country. And it's Ireland into the bargain. The top hole there, boys. You up along to the pots. It's the island, Fisherman's Island out there. There's a hut there. About Muhammad. And about the UN outside. And you see the way the UN, they're all hating on Israel. And some people probably hear me saying Israel now and they want to turn off the video and say, fuck that. But listen, open your ears, man. You know, I'll put in a video here, show you an Arab dressed in all the gear, telling you exactly what's happening. He's not an infiltrator, he's not a plant, he's not Mossad, he's a real Arab man. They run out there, him and his mother and all his family. See, they carry on as savages, as savagery. They've enslaved the people since the 7th century with the demonic satanic yoke that they call the clan. Now listen to me, watch the video and you'll see.
I'm calling out Simon Harris. Yeah, junkies bastard, yeah.
A Jewish kingdom ruled in Judea for 1,000 years. We, the Arabs, took this land. Who Arabized Egyptians, Phoenicians, Persians, and Amazighs? It was us, the Arabs. So why does the Council enshrine a lie by keeping a permanent agenda item on Palestine while ignoring the indigenous heart of Israel returning home? Let us be clear, who is actually defending our sovereignty? Today, Israel is fighter for peaceful nations, freeing Gaza from Hamas and saving Iranians from the Islamic Republic. What Israel is doing to the IRGC is a gift to humanity. There are 57 Islamic countries and only one Jewish state, Israel. Despite the ongoing hateful desire to eliminate it, Israel has not only survived, it has thrived. I don't believe in miracles, but this is one. So I ask the UN, when will you end the ritual of condemning Israel? Is it not time, instead, to learn from Israel how to defeat terror, defend free societies, and pursue peace?
Well, there he was, the great Jassim El-Juraid, a Kuwaiti-born Muslim Arab who had to flee to Canada because of the violation of his human rights in an Arab country. And he's really speaking the truth about what's really happening. These countries sit there in tremendous smugness attacking Israel about Palestine. There are 57 Muslim nations, 52 Arab Muslim nations for that matter. Their one intention, besides a few exceptions, is to destroy the Jewish people. What he recognizes is that the Arab colonialists began to take over the Middle East in the 7th century. And these were the indigenous lands of Jews and Christians and Karaites and many other minorities. It's the Muslims who are the real occupiers of the Middle East. We know that the word Jew comes from the word Judea, the lands of Judea and Samaria, Jerusalem, Hebron, and Sfat. These are all historically Jewish cities for thousands of years. That's why we have the temples that were built right in the middle of the old city, where the Muslims put their mosque on top of it later on in history. But what's below it is there first. The Jews have been here for thousands of years. And it's only because of the horrific anti-Semitism and pro-genocide intentions of most of these Arab Muslim countries to wipe out the Jewish people. Don't take my word for granted. Listen to what they've been saying. The Hamas Charter in 1988, Article 7 says we have to eliminate every single Jew in the world. Every single nation around us has been sworn to the destruction of the Jewish people and the Christians in the Middle East.
I'm calling out Simon Harris. Yeah, junkies bastard, yeah. I remember at the Doyle Bar, I bait you up and down the corridor until Michael Healy race stepped in. Now, before I bait you, I'll bait Mary Lou MacDonald, Paul Murphy, Norma Foley, and I'll do it at the same time. You junkies bollocks. You told the Healy Rays that you'd bait me. No, I'll bait you, and then I'm coming on one of the Eloy Tullas. Simon, you monkey's bastard, my father bait you 2 years ago, and he's dead for years. My nana had you in a headlock near Leinster House a while back, and you couldn't bait hay neither, you junkies bastard. Where's the humanity? I'll tell you where it is, it's going up your hole. Now you said we don't want anything to do with a backward-looking idea of sovereignty. Well, that's the only thing you got right, you monkey's bastard, yeah? You thought you'd be the one first to say, but I told you many years ago, I'd bait you to it, and I'm going to bait you some more, you junkies bollocks.
Game over.
With the hands, lads. The king, I got him with the hands there a while ago, you know. I pulled him in. I was here doing a bit of noodling. The king can noodle whenever he likes, wherever he likes. So this is a fine little fish now. We got a lovely little hen, a wild fish at that.
I just discovered a new story about Muhammad last week, and I thought it was such an enlightening piece of information that gives such a clear insight into the character of Muhammad and who he was. So I thought I'd come on here and I'd share it with you and the Fuel Project community. Over the years, I've occasionally told the life story of Muhammad on this channel to paint a picture of what type of person Muhammad was. You see, once you understand Muhammad, you understand Islam. The whole thing flows out of his character, and it really is made in his image. And something I found particularly useful over the years is to compare Muhammad to Jesus. Because everything that Jesus is, Muhammad is the complete opposite. He's a complete inversion of Jesus. It's a really noticeable and stark contrast when you put them side by side. Just how much Muhammad is a literal antichrist, in the sense he opposes Jesus in every single way. So just quickly run through some of the main points about Muhammad if you didn't see those previous videos. According to the Quran and Hadith, that is Islam's own primary sources, Muhammad was so psychologically disturbed that he thought he may be demon-possessed, and he became suicidal. Several times he tried to throw himself off of mountain crags. Muhammad explicitly told his Muslim followers to fight and kill unbelievers unceasingly until the whole world was subjugated and oppressed under Islam. He said killing unbelievers was a small matter to Muslims, and he encouraged them to use terrorism as well. He said that committing acts of terrorism was one of the greatest deeds a Muslim could do, and it would guarantee the jihadi a top place in paradise. Muhammad beheaded hundreds of people in a single day. He committed genocide against the Banu Qurayza tribe. In the Hadith, he's seen commanding the stoning of a mother with a newborn baby. He tortured his enemies as well. In one example, he commanded for a man's hands and feet to be cut off and his eyes gouged before leaving him to bleed out under the desert sun. And he laughed when he heard about his followers killing a blind man in the most terrible and atrocious manner possible. And he commanded crucifixions as well. He encouraged his followers to rape captive women in front of their husbands and to oppress and subjugate unbelievers. Muhammad was a slave trader who personally owned and traded many slaves in his lifetime. He encouraged his followers to lie and be deceptive to further the cause of Islam, a process called taqiyya. He encouraged them to steal, and he encouraged greed as well. In fact, he said that greed was what held the Muslims together. It gave them a sense of unity and purpose. He was sex obsessed. According to the Hadith, he could often be seen walking around with his clothes covered in semen stains, and he had many wives and sex slaves, and he was also a paedophile as well. He married a 6-year-old girl and had intercourse with her when she was just 9 years old. He encouraged his followers to get young girls of their own as well. He was a humorless and thin-skinned man. On one occasion, he killed his own followers when they played a practical joke on him. He told his followers to be hateful and hard towards neighbors, and he spent the last 10 years of his life in near constant violence. He was a warlord. And if all that wasn't enough, what comes through in the Quran and Hadith is that he was a cowardly, weaselly man as well. It's notable in the Quran and Hadith that you never see Muhammad doing an act of service for anyone else. Muhammad lords it over his followers. He commands them, he orders them, he rules by force and fear, he enslaves, and he punishes dissent in the harshest ways possible, but he is never, ever seen helping someone or serving someone or putting someone before himself or loving anyone. He never puts others first. It's all about himself. He's a very selfish man. Now, there's a particularly insightful glimpse into Muhammad's character where all of this comes through, and it's during the Battle of Uhud, which took place in 625 AD. So essentially, during the Battle of Uhud between the Muslims and Meccans, the Muslims made a tactical error. They thought they were going to win. They were on the front foot, but they'd actually miscalculated, and they suddenly found themselves on the back foot. With their backs against the wall, with the Meccans bearing down on them, Muhammad keeps putting his followers out into harm's way to try to protect himself. And he keeps trying to bribe them so that they'll go out and protect him. The Hadith says, when the enemy advanced towards Muhammad and overwhelmed him, he said, "Whoso turns them away from us will attain paradise or will be my companion in paradise." A man came forward and fought the enemy until he was killed. The enemy advanced and overwhelmed him again, and he repeated the words, "Whoso turns them away will attain paradise or be my companion in paradise." A man came forward and fought until he was killed. This state continued until 7 men were killed one after the other. So essentially, they're all hunkered down. And here's Muhammad cowering in a corner. And instead of showing some courage and leadership and leading the fight back from the front line, he keeps sending others out to die on his behalf. And he keeps trying to bribe them in that way as well. Essentially, he's doing the Lord Farquaad meme from Shrek.
If, for any reason, the winner is unsuccessful, the first runner-up will take his place, and so on and so forth. Some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I am willing to make.
So the Muslims are all hunkered down and cowering behind their rocks, and they're kind of peering out at the enemy and fear striking at their hearts. And Muhammad, afraid to face them himself and show some true leadership and true courage and lead from the front, he keeps sending out other people to fight on his behalf for self-preservation. He keeps sending people out to try and deal with the situation so that he doesn't have to. And some of you may die, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. And then to bribe them, he keeps promising that if they do go out there and die, then they'll get all of these rewards in paradise. Now, I don't know why his followers didn't say, well, if going out there and dying guarantees all of these rewards in paradise, why don't you do it, Muhammad? If it's such a great thing and there's all of these rewards in paradise, why aren't you rushing out there to get the sword through your neck or the arrows through your chest? But anyway, he keeps sending his followers out to be killed on his behalf, and he's kind of peeking out from his hiding place, sending one after the other. Oh, that guy's just died, right? Somebody else, you go, you try and deal with the situation. So he's this kind of really weaselly, cowardly Lord Farquaad type of character. Now, contrast him with Jesus, and it's a night and day situation, because Jesus did sacrifice himself for others. When Jesus' moment came to show courage and leadership and bravery and lordship, he didn't back down. He did have the bravery to go to the cross and fulfill his mission and to save his people. And all through Jesus' life, you only ever see him teaching goodness and righteousness and honesty and uncompromising truth. It's a complete night and day situation. Well, now, this brings us to this new story that I just discovered about Muhammad. And when I read this story, I thought, that is so Muhammad. That is so in keeping with his character as we've come to know him and understand him in the rest of the Hadith. This is so consistent. This is such a Muhammad thing. Apparently, and I've double checked this and it's true, this is reported through Ibn Kathir. When Muhammad was explaining Jesus' crucifixion to his followers, he told them that when the Roman guards came to arrest Jesus, Jesus hid amongst his disciples and offered his disciples a bribe. The Muslim Jesus said, "Who will take my place? And Allah will reward him with a castle in paradise." Now, does that remind you of anything? Essentially, Muhammad tries to cast Jesus in his own image because that's exactly what Muhammad would have done. If Muhammad was the one who was supposed to go to the cross, he for sure would have hid amongst his disciples and then tried to bribe them with promises of castles in paradise. That's exactly what he would have done. Essentially, Muhammad cast Jesus as acting exactly like he did at the Battle of Uhud. trying to bribe his followers for self-preservation, because Muhammad is this cowardly, weaselly character who tries to bribe his followers to save his own skin. That's how he tries to paint Jesus. Now, either Muhammad was too boorish and thick to conceive of a leader like Jesus, who did have courage and was willing to sacrifice himself for his people and who did show true leadership, or he knew that if he told the truth about Jesus' sacrifice, it would then cast him in a bad light, because all the Muslims would then say, well, why don't you act like that, Muhammad? I tend to think it's the first one. I tend to think that Muhammad just had no concept of the type of leader that Jesus was, that you could lead with courage and righteousness and self-sacrifice. I don't think that even computed in his head. And also remember, Muhammad was illiterate. He had not read the Bible for himself. He only had a vague understanding of Christianity, kind of bits and pieces he picked up along the way in his life. So he didn't really know what the Bible said and what Christianity said. But either way, this story is just more evidence that Muhammad does not deserve an ounce of anyone's respect. Not only is he not a prophet, he's not even a good human being. He's this kind of weaselly, cowardly, weak Lord Farquaad type of character.
Simon, you monkey's bastard, my father bait you 2 years ago, and he's dead for years. My nana had you in a headlock near Leinster House a while back, and you couldn't bait hay neither, you junkies bastard. Where's the humanity? I'll tell you where it is, it's going up your hole. Now you said we don't want anything to do with a backward-looking idea of sovereignty. Well, that's the only thing you got right, you monkey's bastard, yeah? You thought you'd be the one first to say it, but I told you many years ago I'd bait you to it, and I'm going to bait you some more, you junkies bollocks.